So thanks for coming, and thanks for coming over what's most people's lunch times. This should mean that you're all really, really committed and dedicated, which is great for me because we've got some audience participation in a moment. So I'm going to be talking about integrating digital channels for campaign success. Now, they didn't quite know what theatre to put me in, so if you've come to the social theatre thinking you're getting something on specifically social, you are excused now. If not, then we'll dive straight in to talk about how we integrate digital. Do have a minor disclaimer, which basically is that I acknowledge it's not possible to only talk about digital when we talk about integrated campaigns. So in some of my examples, you will see offline mentioned as well, but we'll just try and ignore that. So we're going to dive straight into some examples, and then I'm going to walk you through some top tips for how to integrate digital channels for campaign success. So the first one you might recognise is First Direct. So in an effort to bring more transparency to its marketing, First Direct ran a campaign that involved visualising brand mentions across social media. The online bank created a dedicated microsite that showed comments from sites including Twitter, Facebook and Money Saving Expert. The aim was to target London commuters, so a variety of digital formats were used, including underground track projections, big screens at 26 major rail stations, digital escalator panels and LCD screens at underground stations, as well as some static tube car panels. Online, they launched a series of direct response and brand display adverts. The campaign messages were refreshed on a daily basis and incorporated live streaming of the data from the campaign microsite. Direct response ads were also run in the press. First Direct also drove engagement by inviting visitors to comment in their blogging area called Talking Point. The comments were then fed into visual displays, which were posted on over 8 million other websites. Second example. So Israel put a very unique digital spin on the global Share a Coke campaign. Consumers were already able to personalise cans of Coke bottles with their first names. This went a step further, and they turned the country's most visible billboards into interactive signs that greeted people by name. More than 100,000 consumers downloaded a location-based Coca-Cola app, using geofence technology to sense their proximity to the special billboards and transmitted their names to the signs to greet them as they passed. So as consumers neared the signs, they received a message alerting them to look up and see their name in lights. You're probably mostly familiar with this one. In preparation for the launch of its 4G network, O2 encouraged consumers to explore technology with a multi-million-pound ad campaign that introduced the Be More brand strategy. The campaign was both memorable and engaging. O2 wanted to reposition itself as a beacon of positivity with this campaign, which encouraged consumers to be more dog. The ad tells the story of a cat that starts swimming in ponds, fetching sticks, and chasing cars after deciding to become less aloof and more enthusiastic. The campaign objective was to persuade consumers to be less cynical and embrace new technologies. TV, cinema, press and poster ads led with straplines including "Life's a stick, go chase it," alongside a big social media drive. A dedicated website accompanies the campaign, encouraging users to drop dog bombs on friends. And if you visited the website, you could use a unique code whereby you could play a game to throw a frisbee from your phone to the cat and have it try and catch it. And my fourth and last example for the ladies, the man your man could smell like. So everyone's seen the TV ad, but it was only really when this campaign was taken across social channels that it became truly engaging and dominated discussion in social media. It originally launched in February a few years ago during the Super Bowl, and it featured a former NFL athlete. The media buy targeted environments where couples watched together. The overwhelming success of this part of the campaign led to encore performances, but this time ones that were more engaging around having conversations with fans on a one-to-one level. This was called the Response Campaign. Isaiah Mustafa responded directly to YouTube comments, tweets, Yahoo Answers and blog posts in 117 publicly available, real-time and personalised video messages. In a very clever tactic to ensure maximum coverage, Old Spice replied to some of the most popular personalities on Twitter, such as @Biz, the Twitter co-founder, @Ryan Seacrest, a TV personality, and @GQ, @Huffington Post, etc. But why am I talking about integration? So it's great to understand all the digital channels at your disposal as a marketeer. Many agencies are now set up with channel departments specifically so that clients have access to specialist areas across different disciplines. However, these should not be looked at in isolation, and you should always think about the appropriate channel mix to reach your audiences. Some of the things we've been getting asked for from our clients: we need to have an engaging hook and a real point of difference. A full 360 digital campaign is required. We're looking for a digital agency with experience in integrated digital campaigns to develop and implement a brand communication strategy for us. We want to develop concepts, and creative across various media and integrate across all nominated channels. As the media landscape becomes ever more fragmented, the desire to run integrated campaigns across a range of touchpoints pervades. As devices and channels are converging, people's behaviour is also changing. They are device agnostic and expect to access information where and when they are, on any device, sometimes more than one device at a time. The lines are blurring between devices, channels and platforms, and so should your marketing planning be. But don't just take my word for it. The increasingly sophisticated and highly connected consumer expects more from brands. He or she wants personalisation, relevance, convenience, simplicity and proximity. To stay competitive, brands need an integrated digital marketing strategy in order to engage and converse with their consumers. And I've got some stats to prove it. Using both email and social together results in an increase of up to 28% open rate. The impact of running a campaign across multiple platforms tends to result in higher overall sales and a superior ROI. Multi-channel campaigns are better at driving effectiveness than single-channel activity. 78% of cases with 3 or more channels demonstrate hard business effects. And here's a truly integrated one for you that includes offline media too. 5 to 40% of all branded search traffic is driven by upstream media. And of course by that we mean TV, print or radio. So before we move on, we'll just have a quick check about what we mean by integration. So the IPA has 3 different definitions. Advertising-led integration, where channels are unified around a common creative idea, where you sort of match luggage. A brand idea-led orchestration, which is unified around a shared brand concept or need state, often built around core brand values of the organisation. And finally, participation-led orchestration, where you create a common dialogue or conversation. The last point there has emerged in recent years, partly driven by digital media. This slide is nowhere near has all the channels at our disposal, but I hope it begins to make you realise how many channels we do have available. We've got digital presence management on own social media, content marketing, podcasts, infographics, video, online engagement, PR, email, social communities, and mobile, where you've got apps, websites, location-based services, SMS, geolocation. You'll notice from the examples I showed you at the beginning that the campaigns didn't all just use all digital channels. That's not necessary. Cherry pick the ones that will deliver against your objectives, and we'll discuss a little bit more on that later. So how do we integrate and where do we start when there's a massive landscape to navigate, as shown by Gartner in their digital landscape? So I've got some helpful tips. There's 8, I think. So let's get going on those. So tip 1, have a big idea. Some people call this strategy, slogan, or theme. It's in an integrated campaign, the strategy is then executed across all relevant media. It's generally a distillation of your product or company's competitive benefit made real and actionable to your target market. Whatever it is, it has to run throughout all channels that you use, all communications, and every part of your execution, so that no matter where a consumer sees or hears you, the same theme is being reinforced. Some examples that you're probably all aware of: Nike, Just Do It; Sony, Make Believe; and Sainsbury's, Live Well for Less. All of these things are truths in every part of what these brands do. Just hang on a sec there. So strategy is a strong overarching vision intended to fulfill your predetermined goals and objectives. Tactics are the methods used to achieve the objectives against strategy. This is where you guys come in for your audience participation, because we're about midway now, so if some of you are drifting off, this is where we have a little bit of fun for a sec. I'm going to give you one to start off with. I'm going to ask you the difference between strategy and tactics. So firstly, we've got this one. Strategy is a surprise attack. Tactic is jump like crazy and throw spear very hard. Now it's your turn. So brand match. Is that a strategy or a tactic? Just yell out. Thanks, lady in the front. Tactic. Do you like my animation there? Next one. Skoda's choice to cut over excessive prestige from prices, offering quality and comfort more economically. Strategy or tactic? Strategy. Excellent. In the front row over here. Maybe it's because I can't hear you guys at the back. And finally, the man your man could smell like. Strategy or tactic? Strategy. So we're moving on to tip 2, insight. So we always start with a consumer. Because today's consumer accesses media using a variety of platform and devices simultaneously, establishing your brand presence everywhere that your audience lives makes it more convenient for them to reach out and respond to you. Typically, an integrated marketing campaign involves using multiple media platforms which refer to each other. We essentially want to join the party. Our approach is to look at the customer first, his or her preferences, buying patterns, media exposure, and other factors, and then expose that customer to products and services that fit the consumer's needs through a mix of communication methods he or she finds attractive and credible. Looking back to the Old Spice example, their campaign was derived from the insight that women made way more than half of all body wash purchases, which meant they purchased for themselves and their partners. Looking at the response campaign for Old Spice, they tapped into existing behaviours online rather than trying to create new ones by creating response videos to customer queries and comments. It's important to note that channels are not mutually exclusive either. You can use insights from one channel to inform activity on the other. For example, PPC can inform web content. Tip 3, channel mix. If you provide relevant communication at key points in a client's life cycle, you will increase sales. Successfully integrating channels requires understanding how a business works across a multi-channel environment and considering channels as an integrated network rather than individual delivery mechanisms. We looked earlier at the Wordle, which demonstrates how the number of channel options is massive and continually increasing and fragmenting. Use this as an opportunity. With niche products, such as some financial services products, it allows specific targeting that is impossible with broadcast media. In this example, Hiscox targeted SMEs using Wi-Fi at train stations, supporting the online message with digital boards. Tip 4, messaging. A brand message which is echoed simultaneously across multimedia channels is better able to communicate to consumers in a powerful, impactful, and memorable way. In order to truly get your message across, your integrated marketing campaign needs to deliver a consistent message across the board. so that each platform feeds into an overarching narrative strategy and works simultaneously to promote the end goal of the campaign. It's not necessarily about repeating the exact same message across every channel, rather translating the theme or idea in a way that is channel appropriate. Tip 5, know your brand. So you need to be true to the brand throughout and be authentic. I was just reading this morning about the rise of prankverts. Has anyone heard of those? Basically, in the style of Trigger Happy TV, prankverts are branded content videos that use hidden cameras to prank the public. So the participants have no idea that they're playing a part in the creation of a video or TV spot, but the hope is that they will go viral. Pepsi in the US had the most success with a prankvert. They sponsored NASCAR, the racing champion Jeff Gordon, and they created a prank video of Gordon with the help of prosthetics to disguise him, taking a Chevrolet Camaro for a test drive with an unsuspecting dealership salesman. This was no normal test drive, as you can imagine. He was a NASCAR driver, so Pepsi positioned the brand to push things to the max, and they didn't hold back. This worked because the execution stayed true to the brand personality. Tip 6, set KPIs. I'd set these at objective and campaign level so you know that what each channel is supposed to deliver, as well as what you expect from the overall campaign. You can create a report that shows the big picture, so how all the channels are contributing together, as well as all the channels separately. This leads nicely on to tip 7, where you need to then track and report against your KPIs. Tracking allows you to plan more effectively across different channels and calculate optimal spend levels across the mix. As the media landscape continues to be more fragmented and we rely on lots of different channels to reach our consumers, this leads to increased difficulties in splitting out the impact the individual elements of the campaign contributing to its overall success. It's sufficient at this stage to say that you should track your channel's effectiveness both individually and part of the overall campaign. You can't really measure channels in silos. In August 2012, Google issued a study of multi-device consumers, which found that 90% move sequentially between several screens to accomplish a task. As we, as marketeers, support this channel switching behaviour with online comms, it leads to the need for an attribution model that can account for this multi-touchpoint behaviour. The problem is, if you measure channel-specific tactics in isolation, they don't account for the fact that they actually all work together. Imagine if you were just measuring the impact of search in silo. If you saw search as outperforming everything you did 10 to 1, you'd likely pull money out of something like TV or another vehicle and put it into search. As a result, your search effectiveness would actually decrease because the channels that were driving search traffic would be gone. I'm not going to hang around on this one too long because it's a little bit controversial. So legal, just make sure your legal department is up to date with technology, and if they're not, then try and help them out so they can understand how their rules apply in the new world. If they don't understand social media, give them a training course. If they don't understand how an email renders, show them one, walk them through your system. And then finally, remember offline. Any good marketeer will know that just as online channels shouldn't be considered in isolation, neither should on and offline. So why aren't we all doing it? Good question. Because it's really difficult. 27% of people in an e-marketeer survey said that organisational structure inhibited them from creating integrated marketing campaigns. Current technology was the second reason. Working with multiple agencies and specialists, and a lack of cross-channel expertise internally. So, what have I been talking about? Well, here's a quick summary. You need to have a big idea, use insight, choose your channel mix, think about your messaging, be true to your brand, be clear about your KPIs, track your KPIs, help out legal, and don't forget about your offline marketing department. So that's me done. A whirlwind stop of integrated marketing. I'm happy to take questions. After which point, if you want to come see me on my own, I'm at stand D60. So if anyone wants to put their hand up, yell out, I'm happy to take any questions. No one? Thanks very much.